Well, hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Children's Chapel. Today, I'm all myself. I have no friends today, but I have Jesus with me. So I got my Bible, and we are going to go through the Old Testament, which is the beginning of the Bible still. And last time we learned that God promised Abram something. God promised Abram that he would be with him always, and that he would have the number of children that are like the stars in the sky, like the sand on the beach. How many children do you think that is? That's a lot of children. And God told Abraham something else, something crazy. He said, I need you to leave everybody. Now that was a big deal. Remember, that was a really big deal because it mattered how many people were in your family would protect you against your enemies. You needed to have lots and lots of people in your family and lots of people with you. So it was super important that that be the case. But he is asking Abram and Sarai to go off by themselves. And even though Abram didn't have a Bible with him all the time, he hadn't gone to Children's Chapel, he didn't have church, he didn't have mommies and daddies that would sit down and teach them and pray with them, but he knew that this guy was something special, and so he listened very intently. So today we're going to learn about Abraham's family. We're going to change his name and Sarai's name too. You see my picture? In the ancient world, having kids was very important. Lots of kids. Why? Because living in an ancient world took a lot of work. You needed people to plant and harvest. The more kids and grandkids you had, the more help you would have in planting and harvesting and shepherding and protecting. The more kids and grandkids that you had, the better your life would be, which is why it was so terrible for Abram and Sarai not to have any kids. And why God's promise that Abram's family would become a nation was so exciting. By now, Abram and Sarai had been following God for 24 years. They'd wandered all around the land God said would be theirs. They had wandered down to Egypt and back again, and God had blessed Abram. He now had lots of servants and sheep and goats and camels. The only thing Abram and Sarai didn't have was any kids. Abram was about to give up on the idea of building a family when God told him two things. First, God said, your name isn't Abram anymore, it's Abraham. And Sarai's name is now Sarah. And Abraham said, okay. Then God said, and next year, Sarah's going to have a baby. And did you know what Abraham did? He laughed. Why did he laugh? Because the next year, Sarah would turn 90 years old. Abraham had never heard of a 90-year-old woman having a baby. Have you ever heard of a 90-year-old person having a baby? I haven't. Abraham tried not to, but he couldn't help it. He laughed. Then God said, and the baby will be named Isaac, which means he laughs. Isn't that hilarious? A year later, Sarah had a baby boy, and they named him Isaac. Everyone was amazed at this God who could make promises and keep them, even promises that sound crazy. God promised Abraham something, and everything God says always comes true. God doesn't tell a little fib. He doesn't tell a big fib. He doesn't say, I promised you something, but I kind of got busy, so I can't give that to you. He promises, he doesn't say, I promised you a son, but just kidding, I'm going to give you a daughter. No, everything that God says is absolutely true. God wanted to see if Abraham really trusted him, really trusted him. So when Isaac was older, God asked Abraham if he would give up his son. Did Abraham really trust God? This was the child they waited for, the child God had promised, the child God said he would use to bless the whole earth. What if Isaac died? Would God still keep his promise? Would God bring Isaac back to life? Abraham didn't know for sure, but he knew one thing. He trusted God. So Abraham got ready to give up Isaac because God asked him to. Does God ever ask you to do something hard? Oh, man. But God didn't want Isaac to die. He wanted to know that Abraham trusted him. As soon as Abraham was ready to give up Isaac, God sent an angel who called out to Abraham from heaven, "Stop! Do not lay a hand on that boy." Then something amazing happened. God learned that Abraham would trust him no matter what. Abraham learned that God would keep his promises, no matter what. Isaac learned that he would trust God just as much as his father. He learned that he could trust God with his life. So God said, now I can use you to build my nation. What did Abraham learn when he chose to trust God? I think he learned that God's going to always do what he says. And some of the time he's going to say what he's going to do. You know where all these answers are? They're all in here. He tells us how much he's going to protect us. He tells us how much he loves us. He tells us that we're his children. All we have to do is believe that he is as great as these words say he is. Do you believe that God is as great as these words say he is? I do. Even when things are hard, even when we're stuck inside another day, even when we can't see grandma and grandpa, even when we can't see our teachers on Teacher Appreciation Week, all of these things that are hard, I know because of this book that God is still good. God is still good. And Abraham figured that out. That all we have to do and all he's asking us to do is trust him. He just says, trust me. I got you. I got this. Things look crazy, but I got you. So think about what we could build with our Legos today. What can we build with our Legos? I think you could build Abraham and Sarah and Isaac. You could build a face laughing just like Abraham did. You could build all the nations that are going to come from Isaac and Abraham. You could build a story about when you had to trust God. There are so many ways. You could rename yourself just like God renamed Abram and Sarai to Abraham and Sarah. Excuse me. I wonder what he would rename you. That'd be fun. Till next week. Love ya.